an ancient world where our imagination filled the gaps of our knowledge, mythical beasts and creatures roam the earth just outside of our reach. Here be dragons.
Welcome, explorers! Today we're learning about the mythology of dragons and fantastic beasts throughout the world. Without science as we know it, ancient people used to explain natural phenomena with stories and their imaginations. Behind me is Halong Bay in Vietnam. It literally translates to descending dragon. Doesn't it look like the back of a dragon? Today, modern maps of the world are complete and use satellite photographs. But back then, ancient maps were incomplete, and the edges of the map were often illustrated with magnificent beasts. The Hunt Lennox globe goes as far to include the phrase Hic sunt dracones, which translates to, "Here be dragons." So come join me. Let's learn more about these magnificent beasts. And remember, these aren't just stories. These are our ancestors' explanations of the world around them.
Do you know why dragons are good storytellers? Because they all have tails.
Well, greetings and salutations, my friends! Thank you for tuning in to this special virtual presentation from the Fort Worth Legendary Creature Center, a little-known subdivision of the Fort Worth Nature Center. I'm the cryptozoologist here at the center. My name is Cassandra Ashling, but most people just call me Cass. I heard that today you all were learning about dragons, and I am tickled to be joining you as the foremost regional expert. Now, the word dragon first appeared in the mid-13th century, but dragons have been known to people all over the world for much longer than that. In fact, as far back as the Rig Veda, an ancient sacred text from India dated around 1500 BC, dragon lore has been recorded all around the world. The root of the word dragon comes from the Proto-Indo-European word dirk, which means to see, and it is believed that the word dragon literally meant the one with the deadly glance. Dragons sure have a complicated reputation. Now, there are a number of serpent-like beasts that have been known throughout history, and many different creatures can fall under the wide umbrella of dragon. My research has mostly focused on dragons with wings and legs, and there are a number of those living here at the center.
Personally, I identify much more strongly as a wyvern than as a dragon.
Everyone, this is Russ. Wyverns sometimes think they are not dragons, but they are actually a unique species of dragon with 2 legs and wings. You're late. I was wondering when you would show up.
I had a hard time rounding everyone up.
Ah yes, most dragons are shy. Russ is an exception.
An exception? No wyvern? Ah, Nucka is here. Introduce yourself, Nuck.
I be a European dragon, and me parents lived in a cave in Sussex, England. A lot of people think that dragons live in caves because they're hiding great hoards of gold, but really it's that humans are mighty dangerous.
Well, sometimes they are hiding great hoards of gold.
Maybe sometimes, but more importantly, anytime there's a disease that kills sheep or a house that burns down, people blame it on dragons, and it be not very safe for us.
That is a very good point. Europeans have always been very afraid of dragons and have associated them with treachery and with the devil. One important historical text, German naturalist Athanasius Kircher's Mundus Subterraneus, or Underground World from 1678, provides excellent details about dragons and their tendency to prefer caves, but still has the wrong idea about them.
In Russia, they have wrong idea about them too. People call Zmea Gorinich horrendous monsters.
Hi, Vasi. You finished your snack?
Yes, 3 fish always make perfect snack.
Can you tell us something about Zmea Gorinich?
Well, we too live in caves, but we also claim body of water as our territory. That's why I love fish so much. Reminds me of growing up in a Ladoga lake.
The rainbow serpent of Africa also tends to claim lakes and rivers. Rainbow serpent has several names because it is known to many of the people and cultures across Africa. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, rainbow serpent is feared, just like the dragons in Europe. But in West Africa, rainbow serpent is honored as the character Aida Wedo in some of their creation stories. Rainbow serpent dragons are unusual in that they eat iron. Because most cameras contain some small amount of iron, it is difficult to get a photo. But here's a sketch that I made when I visited Benin of the rainbow serpent of West Africa. And let's see here. Here's another sketch that I made in Australia, the Australian rainbow serpent, which also goes by many regional names. Now, the rainbow serpent has sometimes been called an Ouroboros because people have noticed that it bites its tail. Now, Ouroboros is not a specific species of dragon.
Ouroboros literally means tail biter in Greek.
It means tail devourer.
Same difference.
Anyway, Ouroboros is a phenomenon, a dragon biting its own tail. People all across the world, including the rainbow serpent of West Africa, but also Egypt, Norway, Mexico, Iran, Europe, and India, have witnessed this phenomenon with dragons of all types, and it has become a symbol of renewal and eternity. Here are some images I've accumulated through my research. Many dragons have been slain because their blood has healing properties, and that's actually true. But what the Ouroboros actually depicts is the dragon biting its tail to share its healing blood with wounded creatures. No reason to slay them.
It would take some pretty serious convincing to get me to bite my tail. It's better than being slain, but it still hurts.
In Iran and Turkey, dragons are also usually considered beasts that should be slain. But West Africa and Australia are not the only places where dragons are revered. Dragons in China are symbols of power, strength, and good luck. They are known for being just and benevolent.
Well, China has the right idea about dragons.
It's true, and our Chinese dragon is so lucky, it's her name. And here she is. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Hui, and I am a lucky dragon.
Oh, I should tell everyone here that Chinese dragons are known for their unique voice.
Oh yes, some describe it as pains claiming, but that seems rather inelegant to me. Not only is my name lucky, but my color is too. In China, red symbolizes good fortune and happiness, and it is used to bring good luck.
Speaking of good luck, I think it's time to send you all out with some and let our shy dragons get back to their dwellings. Now, we have really only scratched the surface of the world's dragons, but I hope you are inspired to go out and do some dragon research of your own. I would recommend checking this book out from your library to get started. Dragons, Prepare to Encounter 20 Mythical Monsters. Now, you may notice that the subtitle implies that dragons are not real, and that is why I do not have this book as part of my own personal collection. But it does do a good job of looking at dragon legends from all over the world.
Mythical monsters indeed. I'll give them mythical monsters.
All right, Russ, let's not go proving them right. I know beneath that grouchy and greedy exterior, you are a kind and warm-hearted dragon.
A kind and warm-hearted wyvern.
And now let's hear a quote from Smaug, the dragon from The Hobbit.
My armor is like tenfold shields. My teeth are swords. My claws, spears. The shock of my tail, a thunderbolt. My wings, a hurricane. And my breath, death.
Well, hey there, welcome to the Dragon Adoption Center. Here we do our best to match you with the most compatible dragon. Our motto is we find the one to fit and we don't play with fire. John, get PR on the phone. We've got to figure out a better motto. Anywho, folks, let's take a look at who's up for adoption today. First off, we have Toothless from the How to Train Your Dragon series. He is the last known specimen of the Night Fury species. His characteristics include playfulness, inquisitive, intelligent, and very loyal. He also possesses an echolocation sense not unlike radar or sonar. Next we have the Jabberwocky from Through the Looking Glass. His characteristics include a fierce bite, giant claws, and burning eyes. John, are we sure we want to adopt this one out? It seems kind of like a bad idea. Okay, moving on, folks. Here we go. This one's going to be a crowd pleaser for sure. Falkor from the Never-Ending Story. He's a luck dragon species, and Falkor is a very wise, incredibly optimistic, dignified, and a very friendly, sophisticated being from Fantasia. He gives advice to people when they have lost hope in many things that they set out to do, whether in a quest for what they seek, or in some cases, people and beings that have given up altogether and lost faith. Next up we have Smaug from The Hobbit. He's a psychopathic, confident, violent, cruel, arrogant, intelligent, and greedy. He also possesses an unquenchable desire for gold. Let's move on quickly, shall we? Lastly, we have the Hungarian Horntail from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Supposedly the most dangerous of all dragon breeds, the Hungarian Horntail has black scales and is lizard-like in appearance. He can also shoot fire at a range of 20 feet. Horntails are also known for being one of the most vicious and aggressive breeds of dragon. John, no! Don't open that cake! Duck! So come on down and adopt your new dragon friend today. John, get my agent on the phone.
When you think of a dragon, what do you imagine? Do you think of a large dinosaur-like body? Huge wings? What about large claws and ferocious teeth? The dragons we think of today are pretty different from how they looked in the past. During medieval times, drawings and paintings of dragons showed them to be a lot smaller, with long snake-like bodies and multiple eyes and legs. Some dragons couldn't even fly. Ancient stories said that dragons would jump from trees and land on their prey.
Part of the appeal of dragons is that they bring us into a totally different world, and another way to do that is through making up a fantasy language. We talked to some really cool linguists about how to create our own language and name a dragon.
My name is David Peterson, and I create languages for television shows and movies.
My name is Jessie Sams, and I teach college students how to create their own languages.
A conlang is a constructed language, a brand new language you make from scratch to use with characters in a story or to write secret messages. Conlangs have been used in books, television shows, and even major motion pictures, like the Yulish language in The Christmas Chronicles, Shivaisith in Thor the Dark World, and Nelvayu in Doctor Strange.
But you don't have to work for a movie company to make your own language. You can make one for yourself, and we want to help you get started by giving you ideas for ways you can create a name for a dragon. Instead of making a whole language, we're going to focus on how to make what's called a naming language, which means you only need to figure out some important details for how the language might work instead of outlining the entire language and its structure.
The first thing you need to do is pick the sounds that you want in your language. There are lots of ways to do that, but you can always just choose the sounds that you like best. You should start by picking vowels. The 5 vowels that are used most commonly in the world's languages are a, e, I, o, u. And that's a good place to start. You also need to pick consonant sounds. You don't have to use all of them, so I'm going to pick some of these sounds to work with. P, t, k, b, da, ga, ma, na, sa, za. One thing that helps is if you use the same letter each time to match the exact sound that you want. English spelling isn't based on sound, so when creating a language, it's good to write things down exactly like they sound and be consistent in how you spell it. So if you write a word that looks like this, it's not pronounced like days in English, it's pronounced daze. After you pick your sounds, be sure to write them down so that you can always refer to them when creating words in your new language later on.
Once you have your sounds, you're ready to start putting them together into words. And while you can of course have some fun with how you put sounds together, you need to make sure that you think about how they actually work together. So something like these words may look really cool, but you need to make sure you can actually say the name that you create. When you're making a language, you need to decide on a lot of different patterns and then follow those patterns when you create the words. So, for example, I've decided that a pattern we're going to follow here is that for every consonant sound we have, we're going to have a vowel sound follow it. And so if I want to add more to a word, I have to add both a consonant and vowel pair. That's a pattern I just created and decided I want to follow. So we can have a word like za or zabu, but not zab, zba, or az because they don't follow that pattern. So following the pattern with the sounds included in the language, I decided to make 5 words to start our language off. And notice that all the words I chose were ones I associate with dragon. So I decided that dragon should be zabu, scale, bedi, fire, sa, tail, pemo, and talon, k. I made these words just by putting sounds together in the pattern that I chose for the language. And a great thing about making your own language is that you get to decide what feels right for each word.
Those words are all nouns, words for people, places, or things. To give our language some spice, it's fun to add descriptive words as well. Using the same sounds and following the same pattern we already established, I'm going to make some descriptive words that I associate with dragons. Sharp, bigi. Strong, gazi. Tall, gu. Red, zeku. Fast, niti. In English, we place these descriptive words before nouns, but not all languages do that, so you have to decide what you would like to do with your language. Would you like it to follow the pattern that English has and say something like strong tail? Or would you prefer to have it follow the opposite pattern and have it say something like tail strong? For this language, I'm going to choose to have the noun come first, followed by its descriptive word. Don't forget that you can be creative with how you put these words together to form names. You could have a name like Fast Talon or Red Scale, something that evokes the idea of a dragon to you.
If you want to create a full language, there are, of course, more patterns that you're going to need to think about for putting more together than just single words. But what we've outlined here will get you started and will make it so you can name your dragon. I almost forgot to mention, though, that there is one most important rule of creating a language that you have to follow. Make sure you have fun.
It's time for Shakespeare Says.
Come not between the dragon and his wrath.
This has been Shakespeare Says.
Try this.
So we have learned a whole lot about dragons so far, even how to make your own dragon name. So now, I think it's time to make one.
So this is all the stuff that you're gonna need. Something to color with, glue, paper, scissors. Got everything outlined, got my toilet paper colored, so let's try to cut them. Alright, so once we're done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and draw the face. Eyes, nose. She's got scales. Alright, so now we're gonna cut them out. I have a trick for the legs. As you see, I don't cut the toes out right then. I'll cut the leg out and then cut the toes out. Same with the arms. It makes it a little bit easier. And while you're cutting all of these out, you can think about what you want to name your dragon. I think this dragon likes marshmallows and roasting hot dogs. Alright, now for the tongue, to see if it fits. Alright, so you can cut out, there we go. I'm going to glue everything on now. So we gotta put a whole lot of glue. We gotta get the tongue on the dragon. And now we're gonna put the head on. Putting a lot of glue on these. So I wanna make sure that it sticks. This dragon likes to roast marshmallows and hot dogs. And what do you cook those on? You cook them over a fire. And what was fire? Fire was sa. Make sure you put a lot of glue onto the toilet paper roll, and you're gonna have to press down to help keep it on. Since dragons are pretty big, probably would need like a really big fire or like a bonfire to roast all of the marshmallows and hot dogs they're gonna want to eat. So I'm going to name it Sa-Gazi, strong fire. Here I'm outlining the wings so it matches the other one. And You want to put something underneath it so you don't get any marker on the table. Uh-oh. This is an easy fix. Just turn the wing over and there we go. Even grown-ups make mistakes. Almost done. Just gotta put the wings on. Using a lot of glue. And Sagazi is done! What are you gonna name your dragon?
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring to you this important message. Breaking news! Giant dragon marches in the city! Is it a friend or is it a foe? This just in with a new update. Apparently, the beast is not a dragon, but instead a lion, or called a mulang, and in English, a lion dancer. Here we have on-the-street footage of the lions. They seem to be in cahoots with the dragons. Be it lion or dragon, there has been an old tradition in China for dancers to wear masks that resemble animals or mythical beasts. These beasts bring good luck for social gathering events. In fact, we have here a person who used to be a lion dancer in high school.
Hi, my name is Kim Tran, and I spent about 2 years in high school being a lion dancer. It involves a lot of martial arts training as well as a lot of repairs to the papier-mâché bamboo mask. I never could do the really acrobatic moves, but I did learn a few jumps and poses. It was important for me in high school to continue the tradition of lion dancing, and mythical beasts, and dragons especially, have a huge significance in Asian culture. In fact, it is considered extra lucky if you are born Year of the Dragon. According to ancient mythology, the Vietnamese people are said to have descended from dragons themselves. Here's a fun fact. In Da Nang, Vietnam, there's even a dragon bridge that breathes fire. Isn't that so cool? But you don't have to be Asian to explore dragons and mythical beasts. Your local library has great materials for you to explore. Who knows, maybe you even have a lion dance group near you.
Dragons show up in nearly every mythology and culture on the planet, but where did the idea come from? Scientists and anthropologists have put together a few theories on where the idea of dragons comes from. Number 1, dinosaur fossils. Modern people aren't the only ones to have found dinosaur bones. Ancient people discovered them too, and rationally tried to think what kind of creature they could have possibly come from, or what each of the bones was for. If you saw a stegosaurus skeleton with armored plates, how would you know that the plates go on top without scientists to tell you? Calling them dragon scales is a reasonable, if incorrect, conclusion to draw. Number 2, whale bones. Wow, those look different than I expected them to. If you found a skeleton that big and strange looking on dry land, it's easy to see why someone might think they belong to something like a dragon. Not all places that used to have water still do, and the knowledge about different animals wasn't easy to obtain back then, so they didn't know what it was. Number 3, the Nile crocodile. This huge reptile may have had a bigger territory than they do now. They're native to sub-Saharan Africa today, but many crocodiles can swim through the ocean and could have been seen in Europe if they crossed the Mediterranean. These specific Nile crocodiles can do something special called the high walk, where their chest is off the ground. I could certainly see how spotting an 18-foot-long high-walking croc could inspire dragon legends and a healthy amount of fear. I'd probably run the other way screaming too. Alright, so we've talked about places with fossils and/or Nile crocodiles, but what about Australia? Well, they have the goanna monitor lizards. These huge predators have super sharp teeth and claws, and play an important role in traditional Aboriginal lore. Recent studies indicate that monitor lizard venom can invite infection into a victim's wound if they get attacked. They sound pretty tough, and could be the source of the dragon myth in Australia. Number 5. Anthropologist David E. Jones has a different theory completely. He says that ancient people had the need to understand which large predators could bring us harm, like big cats, snakes, and other large animals hardwired into their brains. A successful innate fear of predators means the ones who watched out for big predators like real ones, or lore-based ones like dragons, were less likely to be eaten, and so could pass this fear down to future generations, thus inspiring dragon myths. So I have a question. Where do you think dragons came from?
You might think dragons are a figment of your imagination, but at the Walt Disney World theme park you can visit a friendly purple dragon named Figment. Figment was first introduced in the Journey into Imagination ride at Epcot in 1983. In the original ride, a man named Dreamfinder, a jolly wizard-like scientist, teaches Figment how to use his imagination. In 1998, the ride was closed for a complete overhaul, and in 1999, Journey into Your Imagination opened, but it didn't include Figment. There was so much outcry at Figment not being included in this version of the ride that the ride was closed again in 2001 and went through another renovation. In 2002, the ride reopened, in which Figment had a much bigger presence in the ride. So the next time you have a spark of imagination, you might inspire your own Figment.
What has 2 thumbs and likes painting dragons? This lady, and hopefully you too. Okay, to be honest, I've never painted a dragon before, but this method should make it really simple, and you can use it to start illustrating your own stories if you like it. We're gonna be using some finger paint, and I've got a paper plate to put it on, and also some markers and some paper, and of course if you're using paint or planning to get messy, have some cleanup supplies handy too. All right, let's go.
First, we'll get the paint ready. Make sure it's all shaken up and put a couple little drops on the plate so it's easy to get to. Then we'll get some paper out and just jump right in. Now, if you get too much paint on your thumb at first like me, just smear it off on the plate until you have however much you want. Think about where you want your dragon to go. I'm gonna make this the middle of my dragon, like its body. You can experiment with pressing on the paper a little or a lot to get different sized fingerprints. Now, you probably can't tell at this point, but I'm making the head on the left and the tail on the right. But keep in mind, we're just using the paint to get sort of an impression of a dragon shape, and after it dries, we'll come back and add details with a marker. We'll do another little creation down here. I'm going to use some blue and make a knight going up against a different style of dragon. Since I want the person to look smaller than the dragon, I'll just use a couple of dots for it. Okay, I've waited a couple hours and now all the paint has dried, so let's use a marker to make a silly face on this dragon at the top. Some little nostrils, a zigzaggy mouth, and angry eyebrows. We can add in some legs. Really, we can add whatever we want. How about a pointy tail? Okay, and down here, another little face. Ooh, maybe this one is breathing fire at the brave knight. Got his little arms, some legs, some pointy scales on its back. And for the knight, sometimes they have these helmets where you can only really see their eyes, and a metal piece around to protect their neck, some boots and a sword. Can you come up with a story for what this dragon is protecting and why the knight is trying to get past the dragon?
Well, that was a lot of fun, and it didn't get as messy as I thought it would. If you enjoyed this activity, look up Ed Emberley in the library collection. He's an author and illustrator who loves books and is even married to a librarian. He's made lots of books on how to draw that are sure to inspire your next creation.
Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. G.K. Chesterton.
To learn more about dragons, check out these cool books and DVDs. Would you like to learn more about the dragon dance and other Asian Lunar New Year customs? Then check out Bringing in the New Year by Grace Lin and Alex's Good Fortune by Benson Chung. Bringing in the New Year has an extra long surprise at the end, and Alex's Good Fortune tells fun facts that our littlest readers will understand and enjoy. Did you know that dragons ate tacos and even wear underwear? The books Dragons Love Tacos by Adam Rubin and Attack of the Underwear Dragon by Scott Rotham tells two tales of what happens when dragons are eating too much and not really thinking about what can happen next. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to care for and even train a dragon? Join the adventure and check out the books Jeremy Thatcher Dragon Hatcher by Bruce Colville and How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell to hear two very different stories about how Jeremy Thatcher and Hiccup deal with the responsibility of caring for their very own dragons. How to Train Your Dragon, the movie, can also be checked out on DVD along with the collection of other animated movies as part of a binge box for a spectacular movie night. And finally, readers will love reading the series of fantasy books Wings of Fire by Tui T. Sutherland and Aragon by Christopher Paolini. Wings of Fire follows the stories of young dragons fulfilling predictions in a fantasy world, while Aragon centers around a teen whose choices can save or destroy an empire. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Here Be Dragons. We'll see you next time.